It's Halloween time. Lots of things are associated with that, creepy spiders, ghosts, goblins. And in honor of the upcoming Halloween, we've decided to review a game from that had died. This is Nekro from darkForge Games. You can't buy it anymore, so if you bought it and have it downloaded, that's about the only way you can play it. You have to go to archive.org to even look at the Steam page, which we have up for you on the video right now. It's lovely. It's wonderful. The dev did send us keys once upon a time, but considering development on this game has ceased, I am unclear on whether we need to disclose that or not. Regardless, there it is. This game that you can't buy anymore was gifted to us. So let's kick off the CHAIRQUISITION. Or I guess we should say what it is. Summon demons and spawn unholy weapons of war as a gleefully evil necromancer with an insatiable bloodlust for the innocent and corrupted alike in this darkly humorous, old school, spelled with a K, blend of action, RPG, and strategy genres. So yeah, CHAIRQUISITION. 1 chair means that it's crap, 2 chairs means that's meh, 3 chairs means that's pretty good, and 4 chairs means that they're spooky fucking pumpkin flavored chairs. It's pumpkin spice, you can't escape it. We also got our categories of doom mixed with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let's kick this off. Ven, did Nekro make with the working?
Over here on the spooky ghost, Ubuntu. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Lame drum roll. 1604 LTS. Box of, man, it's still Ubuntu. Powered with 8150, running a 980, displayed at UHD. It works. I mean, it really hasn't been updated. It worked when it was originally launched. And for a Unity title, that was quite impressive. It still works. I like it. And the fact that it doesn't take anything down performance-wise. When we first started testing this game, all I had was a 1080p monitor. And to be honest, I didn't switch to UHD to give this one. But at 1080p, it holds a solid 60 FERPs. So no complaints whatsoever. I'll give it 4 chairs.
Yeah. Ugh. There's a burp somewhere, but it's not coming out. Whatever. Oh, God.
Morty.
Why does this always happen in the mix with the working section? I can't help it. On the i7-6700K, NVIDIA GTX 980 powered Fedora 24 box of business by my foot over here. Nekro ran pretty well. It also ran on the older computer running the 670 superclocked and the GTX or the AMD 1090Ti back when I was just using that. So, no complaints there. It runs 4 chairs.
Indeed, and on the FX 8370E with the GTX 1080, there were a couple of missions, especially when like a notification came up with the Steam overlay. The performance tanked, but the game itself, it never really did it on its own, so I can't really fault it for that. So for me, it gets 4 chairs.
So that's 4 chairs for mix with the working. Up next is the shiny and the sounds. Ven, are you impressed by this 3-year-old game that has stopped being updated?
Well, let's be honest with ourselves. 2 years ago, especially 3 years ago, when this thing first hit early access, and it's like, that's for Linux. It was fucking gorgeous. It was fucking amazing. It was easily one of the top 3 best looking games on Linux, because we get a ton of developers sending us keys. And we're like, all right. I remember it launching, and I was like, whoa, what? Oh, this looks like an actual game. It didn't look like the normal trash. That said, even in 2016, it could still be on the top 20 in the way it looks. There's still a lot of placeholder art, but, your basic character animation rigging and all that, and your levels, fairly well done. There was probably some more to be touched up, but we'll probably get more into that in the fun section. The sounds work, didn't really pay him attention because it's like, hello, I'm this random voice trying to say, witty, quirky things. I was like, shut the fuck up. Put on some Slayer. Because that's what you do on Halloween, which is a damn lie. You put on typo negative, like a real person. So I'm actually going to give it a solid 3 spooky pumpkin spice chairs.
Well, you can also put on Halloween. That's appropriate. But yeah, for what it is, the game looks pretty decent still. The graphics look about as good as they do for an indie game of its era anyways. The voice acting, though, is a bit more of a mixed bag. The narration is kind of boring and skippable, and I read faster than the guy talks, so it's like, spice, as Tim Curry would say. And I mean, the soundtrack is all right. It's your generic heavy metal noodling. Not to the same degree that Slain Back from Hell had its noodling. This one actually looks like the musician put down more than 2 tracks.
Yep.
So that is definitely a thing. It still looks and sounds pretty good for an early access game that was abandoned. So I'll give it 3 cheers.
Yeah, there are some very, very obvious placeholder things in the game, like the floating question mark tutorial thingies and the flashing danger indicators. Also the sprites for power, blood, and sin pickups. When you finish a level, there's like that little slow motion action shot of the last kill, and if for some reason that last kill dropped a sin or a power pickup, you're left looking at a very jarring contrast between final and unfinished assets. The music, on the other hand, is pretty good. Admittedly, I liked it a lot, because whenever you start a mission, it starts up with it means to pump you up, and it does a very good job at that. So, music, I have absolutely no complaints on the other hand. And there's even a definite tone of silliness to the voice acting, which would be very effective if this wasn't a game which will never be finished. So for me, it gets 3 chairs.
All right. Well, that is 3 whole chairs for the shiny and the sounds. Up next is the controls. Then, did it work with your pumpkin spice Xbox controller?
Hey, man, I just want you to know I had to go through a lot of shit for the chairs to allow me to do the pumpkin spice thing. They made me out breakdance L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. So
that guy can cut a rug.
Just keep that in mind as we go forth. The controls, they do what they say on the tin, but for fuck's sake, the old joke they used to say, well, you just need to tighten up the graphics. Well, you need to tighten up the controls on this. I think Pedro likes to say floaty. Not really floaty, just loose. Not suggestion stick loose, but there's that little bit of delay. It's just not precise like you really want. And, when you are attacking, I think we all inadvertently, with no communication, played the melee character. So when you're attacking enemies, you're just swinging and they're just standing. And hopefully eventually they die. Really the only mechanic that you can feel with the melee character is throwing out your spiky, chainy hook thing of nope and pull a person back. But that's about it. They work. I did not try it with... That tells you how long ago this was. Even today, it didn't cross my mind to try it with the X-Clune controller. I was like, no, it's probably not going to work. It can be a pain in the ass the way the default layout is set up. And with the sluggishness with the controls, you can't really do anything fast in this game, which is not very good in something that is like real time. What do we call it? Strategy? I don't know.
Action RTS, yeah.
Yeah, RPG.
Single player MOBA.
There we go. But still 3 chairs because nothing's broken and you can get the job done. I just kind of wish they had, I don't know, not dissolved and managed to tighten it up just a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I like when you get a prompt for something and then upon hitting the key, it just doesn't do it. So consequently, eating corpses only really works when the game feels like it. Beyond that, targeting this is kind of fucky because you need to click on the thing in order to actually target it, which is problematic. Because what happens is when you get your army of guys, and you need to construct your army of guys, or else you're going to get curb stomped. Mm-hmm. They all flood into the center of the screen, and it's really, really hard to pick out what you actually need to be clicking on. In addition, the UI is really bad about presenting enemy health because it's near the bottom of the screen in tiny ass text that will go away only and will appear only if you actually mouse over the enemy in question, which is problematic at times because when everything's overlapping, you got to hope that your enemy is on the top of that layer as shit. Other than that, playing the melee character, you get a better sense for damage once you unlock the boomerang thing later on in the game. The hookshot thing is useful for... I'll get to this more in the fun section, but the hookshot's only use is really to help you pick off 1 or 2 guys at a time before the cluster fucking begins. But the controls are definitely imprecise, and the game requires a level of precision that it doesn't support for the most part. You can get by, but it takes a lot of fuckery and attempts, and it levels that you should be able to complete in like 10 minutes because of the controls require you to take 20. So I'll give that 2 chairs.
They more than once I tried to raise a zombie or a skeleton from a body on the ground, and even though I had the blood necessary to do that, the game outright refused to do what I told it to. Hitting enemies in this game has even less feedback than in Dawn of War 2. And we talked about that game a couple of weeks back. And that's a full-blown RTS. And it's actually very hard to hit enemies dead on. Much like Ben and Jordan, I was playing the melee Necro, and even though I was very clearly in range for that big-ass forearm mounted Bloodblade, most swings didn't hit. And whenever you hit one for the explodey tendril things that you can shoot, they often hit close, but never really exactly where you wanted them to. I don't know where exactly the aiming was because I was selecting the enemy and I had the mouse exactly where I wanted it to land, but it never did. I don't know what the hell is up with that, and I don't know how you can really screw up controls when it comes to multiplayer MOBA, which is relying on mouse precision as much as this game is. So for me, it gets 2 chairs.
Interestingly enough, to your point about the tendril, the aim is based on the mouse, because if you highlight over pumpkins or things that you can animate using the tendril, it'll go directly to them. So clearly it's designed to be imprecise for some stupid reason if you're going to use it to blow stuff up. And half the time it blows your stuff up too, which is also super annoying. Anyways, that's 2 chairs for the control section. Let's round this off, put a bow on it. Fun! Ben, did you have fun?
This is wicked simple. It's a dead game. Kind of felt bad that this game died. I'm genuinely sad. There's just humongous potential to make this fun. The 2 developers that were working on it, they kind of had the hullabaloo, and, one of the developers posted something about family issues, and it just, red flagged me. I was like, nope, all right, something's going on. 2 months later, sure enough, they just had this meltdown, and even though the other developers, the game's 99% finished, and well, Brad, if this is 99% finished, I'm fucking glad you never released it. Here's the thing, though, man. There's a lot of things with this game that you could get into. They've never shipped the physical rewards. This was a Kickstarted project. But the one thing that I thought that would make this game genuinely fun was something that was in it since Genesis, and that was multiplayer. And that got killed with no explanation. We're going a little bit of a different direction. And that kind of sucked. But yeah, I really tried to get into this game. I was like, okay, maybe this can hook me back. Because I remember when I originally played it, but that was some fucking rose-tinted glasses. You fast forward 3 years, you revisit this. We have infinitely better games on Linux, and that makes up for how sad I am that this game never got fully developed. Is 3 years later, we have so many better games, from be it AAA games to indie publishers just doing awesome work. But yeah, when it comes to Necro, I say neck noped, 1 chair.
Or neck no, am I right? Oh, all right. So like Ben said, there's definitely some potential here, and it's really is a damn shame that this game won't get finished. And really, the thing that kills this game the most is the controls, because I seem to remember playing this game a couple years back, and it was way easier than when I was playing it for this review. That may just be because I've all of a sudden decided to start sucking at video games, but that's always been the case. But one of the things that really stand out is in MOBAs, you don't typically have to micromanage your units. They sort of follow you around. They go through the various lanes that you have on the map, and they just sort of go and act as obstacles or support or whatever. They're kind of dumb. This one actually requires you to do some minion management. And there's a lot of really dumb minion management here. Dawn of War 2 got it right by just having the NPC, or the not really player controlled NPCs, the squads, recharge via drop pods and various other capture points. Here you have to go out of your way to like kill and resurrect stuff, which can get problematic because what really happens is like the bad guys have way more hit points and do way more damage than your guys. So the only way to win is to swarm. And it becomes this weird exercise of going so far into the enemy camp so that you can hook shot one of the bad guys and only one of the bad guys, bring them back to your giant pile of dudes, have them just completely destroy it and rinse repeat. Juggling, eating, raising, and not getting killed means that, yeah, basically the big ass army that you build up gets shrunken really, really quickly. And there's some mitigation stuff. You get better units and you can upgrade them as the game progresses. But it's just kind of tedious. Like, oh yeah, I'm all ready to go. And oh no, this one giant guy killed half my guys and now he's chasing me across the map so I can go to that one spot where I can get infinite zombies. But once you get the hang of it, it isn't really too bad. I put a couple hours in the past couple days by accident, but the missions basically devolve into pick off the enemy where you can and hope that you get, by the time you get swarmed, you have and can maintain the numbers advantage because you just have to constantly be refreshing your guys. It's a bit tedious. It needs more polish. It needs better controls. And most importantly, it needs a developer. 2 chairs.
Yeah, drunk as I am, I like to take some time for a little bit of introspection, as it were. When Necro
oh God, here we go.
Came out, look, when Necro first came out in early access, I looked at it, played it, and I was genuinely amazed at how much content there was and how good it looked and sounded. Especially when compared to the other early access titles at the time. The lack of feedback in combat and the really horrible looking floating question marks, the really bad power and sin and blood sprites were something I was prepared to forgive. It's still being developed, so that'll probably get fixed at some point in time, I told myself. And late last year, news came that there was only one guy left working on the game. The other one had apparently locked him out of the Steam developer account and basically ran off with the money. And the slap fight went on for a couple of months until the game was outright removed from Steam. Hindsight being 2020, I probably shouldn't have ever used this game as an example of how to do early access right. So with that little really crappy preamble out of the way, in considering you can no longer buy it, is the game worth the time for those of you who already have it? If you're okay with the thought that it will never get any better and the bugs won't ever be fixed and the unfinished assets will remain unfinished, maybe. But for everyone else who didn't get it, don't worry. You're not missing anything. 1 chair.
All right. Well, I just woke up.
You caught me off guard. 1 chair.
Yeah. I mean, I just sort of woke up from that 1,000-year-long slumber. I'm a bit disoriented. What year is this now? Oh, still 2016. Well, it's another casualty of 2016. Necro gets 1 chair in the fun category, but it does tend to walk away with a 2 chairs overall due to previous merits. So, gentlemen, final thoughts aside from this game needs to finish development.
The only thing I can say in favor of Necro, A, I'm sad to see it go, so I guess there's 2 things. B, it has probably helped increase the value of our Steam accounts.
Oh, yeah. If you ever want to sell your Steam account and you happen to have Necro and Earth Year 2066.
Got both of them.
Yeah. And what was the other one? Oh, no, they did actually eventually come back and put Raven's Cry back on Steam under a different name. Go figure. Yeah, no,
it went on sale recently.
Yeah, this game still puts Raven Cry to shame, don't get me wrong. I mean, it runs much better, and there's a hell of a lot more to it than Raven's Cry ever did. But it's not finished. It's very clearly not finished.
Yeah, and that's basically all you can say about this game. Is it's not finished. There's lots of potential that seems to be wasted. Some developer politics blew this out of the water, but even before then, we were kind of getting radio silence. So for those of you who own it, maybe go back and check out Nekro. You might enjoy it for what it is. A little artifact of back when the promise of Linux gaming was on the horizon and we had seldom few examples.